Hi, my name is Nardine Samuel. I'm a resident physician here at the University of Toronto and also an alum of the U of T Medical School program. I am thrilled to have the opportunity to showcase our course on physician entrepreneurship. And this course is geared towards medical trainees and medical students who are interested in learning more about entrepreneurship. We have an amazing lineup of speakers and a series of very exciting and engaging topics for you to learn more about. Today, we are very thrilled to have with us Dr. Chris O'Connor, who's going to walk us through our first session, Introduction on Healthcare Entrepreneurship. Thank you, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey towards entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. So I went to medical school at U of T. I went into primary care for 3 years. I then went back and trained in general internal medicine, critical care, and respirology, and found myself in clinical practice out at Trillium Health Partners out in Mississauga. And up until that point, I had never thought about starting my own business. And my journey began when I became annoyed at the inefficiencies of clinical practice. Finding information was hard, writing my orders was hard, and I found that irritating. And I thought, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And so I became interested. I signed up for a bunch of hospital committees. I joined the forms committee. I think I was the first person to voluntarily join the forms committee in like forever. And so I became interested in these things. I became the director of medical informatics. And then I started working on order sets, which were the structured knowledge-based checklists to help drive ordering of treatments for patients. It was a novel idea back then, and I became excited about the potential. And I built up a big project at Trillium, improved the quality, safety, and efficiency of things. And then it occurred to me, in a publicly funded healthcare system, why is every hospital building their own order sets by themselves? Isn't there this thing called the internet? Can't we work together and share? So I founded my first company, Think Research, in 2006. And the adventure began from an entrepreneurial perspective at that time.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think a lot of physicians and medical students can relate to this. We encounter so many efficiencies on a day-to-day basis. But, the question is, how do you take those inefficiencies and think about ways to innovate and then execute on that? So can you tell us a bit about how you overcame that initial inertia to start Think?
So I think the key thing here is because we all encounter problems, and I call it an itch to scratch entrepreneur. I had a problem and I wanted to fix it. And I think the key thing is just get out there, start doing things. At U of T, you've got the good fortune to be in the center of one of the great tech hubs in North America. You've got Mars, Vector Institute, all these incredible resources just at your doorstep. And I would say just get out there, start meeting people, start going to rounds and lectures and meeting people and signing up for committees, and then just see what's out there.
No, I think that's really great advice. And I can relate to that because I feel so fortunate to be part of the Toronto ecosystem. I feel that, if you have an idea or you want to push the boundaries of innovation, there's no better place. Obviously, we're a bit biased, but I think that I'm very fortunate. We are very fortunate to be here. So the other thing is that, I think a lot of medical students or, early career, mid-career physicians might be thinking, this is very interesting. And I see problems, but they don't really think about becoming entrepreneurs. How do you sort of take that cognitive or mental leap? And how did it almost occur to you to go down that path?
Well, I think the first part of the journey is being curious, like just being interested and being curious. And so I just started going to conferences because I was curious. I went to conferences where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what their time with the American Medical Informatics Conference, for example. I barely knew what informatics was. And so just get curious, get interested, meet people. It probably won't start with you having a eureka moment around this is the product that is instantaneously going to change everything. It's going to start with being interested and curious. And particularly in healthcare, you often, read about in the tech world right now. Over a weekend, we drank a bunch of Red Bull, and then on Monday, we had this world-changing product. In healthcare, that's not going to be the case. There's too much knowledge that you have to know. The system is too complicated. It's not a short problem cycle. And so I think, think about how long it's taking you with your undergrad and going to med school. You're spending like 8 years. And so the entrepreneurial journey is no different. It's going to take time and thought, and it's not going to happen overnight.
So what I'm hearing is a lot of it is sort of being part of that ecosystem and networking because ultimately you have to put in the time to sort of intern or learn more about this area. And so some of these things I gather probably you can't just learn through courses, and you kind of need that experience.
Absolutely not. And I mean, courses can be part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and there are courses to take, and we could talk about that. But there's a huge experiential part to it as well. And it's materials you read online and blogs and all those other sources of information. And then it's the people you meet, and it's all of that put together that will build the foundation such that when you eventually do have a sense, oh, here's something that could be done better, and I've got a solution, and that it's a commercializable solution, that you're ready to go at that point.
Definitely, definitely. I'm of the mindset that you can become an entrepreneur at any stage of your career, particularly as a physician. How do you feel about that?
I feel very strongly yes.
Mhm.
I didn't start until my late 30s. So absolutely. And I think you should become an entrepreneur when it's right for you.
Yes.
And that will be, I mean, one of the things, there's as many different ways to be an entrepreneur as there are people.
Mhm.
It's not, you know what I mean? And so do it for when it's right for you. And that might be during medical school. Probably not, but might be, or residency, probably not. Once again, because you're busy just learning everything. That's kind of a full-time gig. But once you get through that, then really, when the moment is right.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I tend to agree with that as well. It would be interesting to hear your opinion on the different types of things that physicians can be involved in terms of entrepreneurship, if you can comment on that. Whether it's at the leadership level or, at other areas of governance in terms of being involved in entrepreneurship.
So that's a good point to raise. So when we think entrepreneurship, we think people founding their own companies.
That's right. Absolutely.
That is a tiny minority of people.
Yes.
And it is not the right answer for most people
Mhm.
because, for so many reasons, a ridiculous amount of work. You need to have the idea, and you need to be broadly skill setted across of all kinds of different domains. And that, for most people, is not the right answer. For most people, the right answer is there's so many other roles you can play in early stage startups or early startups. You can be the chief medical officer, chief strategy officer, and so you can get all of the interest, all of the networking, you meet all of the people, travel all over the world, and do all the things that you want to do, all of it without all of the grief associated with running the thing, like we're going to miss payroll in 2 weeks, and what are we going to do about that? And so you can skip some of the miserable problems and just get all the good. So for most people, I think it makes sense. Just get engaged in the ecosystem, and it will be wonderful.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. And I think, being a founder is no easy feat. A lot of people think, you're going to work for yourself, but really you actually work for so many people,
Exactly.
like your customers and your clients and your team and, the directors of your company.
Oh, exactly. You think like, oh yeah, that you're as the founder person, that you're in charge. No, you're taking orders from everybody, not least of which is your balance sheet, because it needs to be taken care of. And yeah, you've got your board, your shareholders, your investors, and you're constantly being held accountable by all kinds of people. So yeah, there's more than just, I would just say, have an open mind, get engaged in the ecosystem, and then just follow your interest. Like, what do you find interesting? And then also what suits your personality,
Yep.
and just sort of what's a good fit for you. And the more you do it, the more that will become clear to you.
Hmm.
I mean, just by my own story, when I was trying to sort things out early in my career, I thought back then investment banking was the hot thing. So cool. So I went and checked out investment banking. I am not an iBanker. Like, there's no way. I just could not do it. I don't have the personality, the interest, the skill set. And so you'll discover things like, yeah, I think that looks great over there, but when you go and see what it's actually like, you realize this is a bad fit for me, and I shouldn't do it.
No, very important point to, find things that are suitable for your skills and interests. And I think that's ultimately a really important way to thrive, to have that match. Absolutely. So, coming back to the whole concept of physicians as entrepreneurs, I mean, I think that there's an important aspect here, which is the physician's identity. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in terms of wearing different hats and how you felt sort of transitioning into the business world, maybe while also remaining, one foot in the medical world as well?
So that is a difficult transition to navigate. I mean, you could have a nice chart drawing what medical school and the medical path is like and what the entrepreneurial path is like, and they're totally different, right? Like in medicine, there's a clearly defined body of knowledge, and the entrepreneur thing, you're finding new things. It's not clearly defined, and there's all kinds of cultural knowledge differences between the two, and so it is one of the biggest jobs you have to do is to do it. I think it can be done, for sure, man. I think I've done that. I think you always want to ground yourself in who you are. So the reality is you went to medical school. When you got out of high school, you went into life sciences or whatever you went into, and then you went to medical school. You didn't go to business school. You didn't take finance, and so you can use that isn't actually a strength, in terms of who you authentically are and what you're about, and you can bring that to the journey. One of the key things you have to do as an entrepreneur, and this is whether you found your own company or you're working in another context, is you have to get people excited about what you're doing.
Sure.
All the good people are busy doing other things. So you have to get these smart, intelligent people to decide, actually, I'd like to spend time working on this other thing that this person wants me to do. And so it really helps. Go with who you actually are. You are a physician by background, and you can take advantages of that in terms of what you're doing. And it's a great way to build your team.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I think that it also helps you come back to your why, why you're doing what you're doing. The other thing about, the piece about business school, there are some combined MD, MBA programs, including here at the University of Toronto. I think that's sort of one stream of individuals, but, maybe accessibility to other physicians and medical students who may not be enrolled in an MBA, I think is an aspect as well. But, I think you touched on a really important point, which is that, you have your strength in your diversity. So you are bringing a very diverse skill set, and the fact that you are a physician, and then you rally a team around your product or idea. And I ultimately think that's a huge determinant of company success.
Oh, absolutely agree. And I mean, as physicians, we've all had the experience where things are done by IT and other people to us, and you're going, this stuff does not work.
Yes.
And so so there is a meaningful thing, I think, to get us engaged in the process to make sure that, that the changes we make in the future serves the needs of our patients, serve the needs of the healthcare system and the physician community. And so, I think that's important.
That sounds great. No, I fully agree. So I'm so excited for us to dive deep into the course. And this was a really great intro session. But before we move on to the next topics, I'm wondering if you have any general advice for those that are watching this in terms of how to get started or different ways that they can get involved in entrepreneurship as physicians and physician trainees.
So the key thing to get started is to start. Exactly. So listen to podcasts, read books, and go to things. You're right, as I said, in the middle of one of the great tech hubs. So you've got Mars, you have Communitech, you have things at the various hospitals. They run things all the time. The med school run things. Just show up, get involved, and then sign up for committees, either at the med school or at the hospital or at other organizations. People are always looking for good people who are keen. And I would say, just do it. Just start.
Definitely. Just do it. Just start. And it's a really remarkable journey, and gear up because it's a lot of fun along the way.
It's a huge amount of fun. It's the best thing. It's been the best thing ever. I highly recommend it. It's so much fun.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Okay.
Great having you. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.